So what I'll do, I'll talk to you a little bit, real quick, some of the things that the bank will look at and want to see. Oh, I forgot to tell you, my name is Mike, and I'm housing counsel. And the next thing you want to do after today is to contact your office and make an appointment with your counselor for your face-to-face interview. That's your next step. Congratulations on the second and the last class. You don't have to get up early on Saturday morning anymore. What do you think about the classes so far? Think you're learning stuff? Well, that's what it's all about. Now, when you go to the bank, the one thing that the banker definitely looks at is the credit report. And right now, the way the bank and market is, credit reports are really, really important. And you want to go there looking great. You don't want to have any old debts or anything like that left on your report if you have them. The Renaissance program requires that you pay these debts off prior to getting the grant money, and it's a good idea anyway. When you pay these old debts, your scores will drop temporarily and then they'll go up to where they should be. Once you've cleared up your credit, if you can keep it clear, you're going to have smooth sailing for the rest of your life as far as credit goes. I remember when I was young, I didn't have any credit. If I wanted to buy a toaster, I had to sweat it. You know, if I was going to not pay for it on the spot, like, oh my God, are they going to let me buy this toaster? Oh, I won't have any toast, you know. But after I had developed credit, it was the exact opposite. I walk into car dealers, I tell them I'm taking that one today, I'm not putting any money down, blah, 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 blah. And I could do that because I was like a prime customer. They wanted to sell me a car, and the bank wanted to give me the loan because they knew I was going to pay it back. That's the bottom line. When they look at the credit report, what they're really looking at is, does Mike pay his bills? Now, if I've got everything paid on time and, you know, every old debt paid off, obviously I do. They don't know me as a person, so the only thing they have to go by is that report. So when they look at it and it's the opposite, they say, good Lord, he never paid that one and he never paid this one and he's 3 months late on that. Would you lend that person money? They won't either. And if they do, they're going to charge you an exorbitant rate of interest. You can get a loan pretty much anywhere from anybody, but the difference is, are they going to give you that loan at 6% or 16 or 20%? And that's where it starts costing you money if you don't have the credit the way it should be. The other thing they're going to look at is they're going to look at your assets, your savings. Do you have enough money to buy a house? You need the money up front. The process goes very quickly. If I left here today and I found a house, the first thing they want is good faith money. So the seller will determine that. It'll be $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, whatever they ask for. So we'll say I start out with $1,000. Well, if I put that $1,000 down as good faith, I'm out of money already. Now, 10 days from now, they want me to get my house inspected. That could cost $400. Where am I going to get that money? And then they're going to say, oh, by the way, it's $300 and something for the appraisal, and this cost, and that cost. My point is, you got to have the money ready, and then you just pay it off, pay them off as you're going along, smooth sailing, no worries. Make sense? And obviously, the other thing they're going to look at is your employment. Was I the French fry guy at McDonald's last month, and I'm selling water skis this month and, you know, bicycles next month? That looks pretty shaky. It looks like, you know, I can't hold a job, or I don't know what I'm doing. So if you have a good, solid employment history, that's very important. They like you to be on the job at least a year, and the longer the better. And sometimes people will ask, well, can I switch jobs? I was offered a job making more money, should I take it? The answer is you can, and it won't hurt you as long as you're in the same field. Remember I was saying French fry guy, bicycle salesman? If I'm, whatever, a shoe salesman, and my new job is selling shoes. And I sold shoes for my old boss for 5 years. I'm gonna go sell shoes for my new boss, and I'm gonna make more money, so that's great. That won't hurt me at all. They don't necessarily like switching fields, you know, when you're gonna make a big purchase like buying a house. They definitely don't like periods where there's no employment. They'll ask you to explain that. And I mean, you know, it's not the end of the world. Things happen. You could lose your job for whatever reason. The company, you know, goes bankrupt or whatever. So they'll ask you to explain that. So they're the major things that the bank is going to look at. Now, I had a question earlier in the back about an as-is house. That's really a no-no. And the reason is that part of the Renaissance program requires that the seller repair any failing HQS items prior to settlement at their expense. HQS is a separate inspection. There's a regular home inspection, and then there's this HQS inspection. The HQS is all about safety. If we were missing a light switch cover somewhere, the whole house can fail. It costs 40 cents. It takes 10 minutes to put it on, but if it's not there, it'll fail because somebody could stick their finger in there and get a new hairdo from it. You get electric shock. So anyway, if I'm going to get an as-is house, the seller is telling me, no, I'm not fixing nothing. So it's obviously not going to work. Another thing, foreclosures. I get a lot of questions about foreclosures. That's not a good idea because the bank is going to tell you up front they're not fixing nothing. They're selling this house as is, period. So it just won't work with the program. Okay, I'd like to introduce Tim Dobson. He's the CEO of Main Street Business Center. And he is the insurance doctor, as you can see. And Timmy's going to talk to you about homeowners insurance, and he'll answer any questions you have. Take it away, Tim.
Today the topic of discussion is homeowners insurance. First of all, let me introduce myself formally to everyone. My name is Timothy Dobson. I'm with Main Street Insurance. I call myself the insurance doctor because I have a wealth of information in all lines of insurance, whether it's homeowners, auto, life, commercial, medical, you name it, that's my specialty. That's all I do is insurance, all day, every day. I can't put up a ceiling fan, I can't inspect your home. I can give you a little bit of information about mortgage, financing, estate, anything that has to do with financial and insurance services. Okay, so today, homeowners insurance. This brochure that I gave everybody basically says dwelling fire coverage. Basically, your dwelling would be your house, and fire, of course, is one of the pearls that's covered under home insurance. Now, the way I typically do a seminar or a session is I like a lot of audience participation. I got some giveaways for you guys and special promotions. So your interaction is very, very important. I'll try to keep this fun and exciting and keep you guys awake, and hopefully whoever follows you can follow up. Okay, if you open up the brochure, we'll talk about some of the coverages under home insurance. But before I even do that, everyone has to know that your homeowner's insurance is necessary. You have to get it before you go to settlement. As soon as you sign your agreement of sale, you should be shopping around for your insurance policy. Typically, if you're looking 30 days before settlement, you want to get your insurance policy in place, make sure your mortgage broker has it, make sure your real estate has a copy of it, and make sure your counselor has a copy of your insurance policy. We always recommend that you do not get your insurance from your real estate agent. You shop for it yourself. So, the home insurance policy typically will cover all these pearls here, these things that are in this window. Yes, ma'am.
Why shouldn't you get it with your real estate?
Okay, good question. You know, I'm going to give you a t-shirt for that because I wasn't going to address that.
I didn't get it.
There you go. Okay, you should not get your home insurance policy from your real estate agent because in reality, your real estate broker. You probably will never see them again in your life. But your insurance policy, your insurance agent is someone you're going to have an ongoing relationship with as long as you're in your house. That's number one. Number two, if you're buying a house for $60,000, the bank and your real estate agent only require you to have $60,000 worth of insurance. But if your house is to burn all the way down, does anybody believe you can build a house for $60,000? No. But the premium for $60,000 insurance may be low enough to get you through settlement with no problems. But again, you'll never see the real estate agent or the insurance, the mortgage broker again. So therefore, you have a fire and you have a burnt up house, and whose problem is it? Yours. Because you didn't shop around for your homeowner's policy yourself. You relied on someone else handling your paperwork to make the settlement go through and smooth. It will go through, but it may not be in your best interest. And while I'm on that footnote, I'm going to ask, because I know everybody here lives in a house or knows someone who lives in a house that owns a home. Okay, so if you do, go home today, ask or go wherever you go and ask who's handling the insurance for the property in which you stay in. If you're renting, make sure you have renter's insurance, because if it's a fire, you lose everything. We don't want to have to rely on the Red Cross in order to get us back on our feet. Okay, so now I'll talk about some of the things that are covered in a homeowner's insurance policy. I'm going to also tell you what types of insurance policies to look for, and I'll tell you the most important thing to look for when shopping for home insurance, besides looking for me, the insurance doctor. So I'm going to take a little 10-second break because I got to turn my phone off. Okay, that's my alarm telling me to come here. Okay. Every homeowner's insurance policy will cover the first 8 things that's listed on this list, which is fire, lightning, hail, windstorm, explosion, aircraft, riot or civil commotion, vehicles, and smoke. All homeowners insurance policies will cover those first 8 perils that we call. Okay? They are the basic perils for a homeowner's insurance policy. They are all covered under a policy called the HO1. Okay? And we need not write this down because it's actually all in here. Okay? But they're all covered under the HO1 policy. As we expand our coverages, if you get an HO2 policy, it will cover the rest of these pictures that's listed here, which include vandalism or malicious mischief, falling objects, freezing of a plumbing system, sudden water and escape from a plumbing or appliance, and sudden tearing, bulging, heating of a cooling system. And freezing is also included in that. Let me elaborate on some of the things, these second 5 pictures that we have in this brochure here. Okay, but vandalism or malicious mischief. Okay, so if you move into a house and your neighbor just doesn't happen to like you, or somebody in the area doesn't like you for whatever reason, they decide to vandalize your home, then your homeowner's insurance will cover it. Okay, if it's a household member that lives inside your home, or a direct family member like a son or a daughter, and they vandalize your home, or you get into a heated argument with your significant other, okay, that would not be covered under your home insurance, okay? Understand that. Fallen objects. I was driving up whatever street this is out here. It's at 9th Street, and I noticed someone cut some trees down, and the limbs are sitting in the front. I'm not sure whether or not they actually have a permit to do it, because typically when you cut a tree down, it's a chopper in the front, and someone has a permit, and they don't do it on the weekend. But if that tree happened to fall on that neighbor's house and cause damage, if they have an HO2 policy or an HO3 insurance policy, your homeowner's insurance policy would cover that damage from that person who cut the tree down. You could talk to the person that actually cut it down, but if they happen to have it fall and run, or they become evasive, you could file that type of claim on your home insurance policy. So it says fallen objects, That's what we're referring to. Or if or if an aircraft happens to fall on your house or drop ice on your home, that's definitely covered under home insurance. Freezing of a plumbing system is covered. We live here in the Northeast, right? So we get a lot of free frozen tundra sometimes in our weather. But the pipes happen to freeze, and then it thaws out and they burst, and that would be covered under HO2 or HO3 insurance policy. Sudden water escape from plumbing or appliances. I had an incident. I had a client whose kid happened to shoot a BB gun in the hot water tank and did not tell his parent. And so when the parents went to work the next day, when they came home from work, guess what happened? The entire basement was flooded because the water heater kept trying to fill itself back up, and obviously it was all coming out of the hole, so it caused a major flood. Okay? But the person had a HO3 insurance policy, so that water damage was definitely covered under the policy. Yes, ma'am.
Is flood insurance covered under the hair on this one?
That is not. And I'll get to flood insurance in a moment too. Okay, and then last but not least, sudden tearing or bulging of a heating or a cooling system. Cute picture, but sometimes a hot water heater today only lasts about 7 years for the most part. Anywhere between 7 and 10 years. Not like the old days when I grew up, where my mom had a hot water heater, I guess, all my life, living in the household anyway. Okay, but now they don't make things like they used to. So every 7 to 10 years, they have to replace the hot water heater, and they rust on the bottom, and sometimes they break apart. That's basically what this here example is referring to. Okay, so these things are covered under HO2 policy. Everything on this list. But now under HO2 policy, that would be all that's covered under the list. So these type of coverages are what they call named peril policies. It's listed on the insurance policy. So when you get your homeowner's insurance policy, you will get what they call a declarations page, and you'll get a policy booklet telling you everything that's covered under the policy, right? They are named peril policies, so the things that are on the list say we do cover these specific things. If it's not on the list, and you have a HO1 or HO2 policy, it is not covered. Then they have what they call an HO3 policy. Now this you may want to write down. The HO3 policy is the best policy.
This book is over.
That book you had, it has everything in it too.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, HO3 policy basically says we will cover everything or anything that happens to your home unless we specifically exclude it. So the HO3 policy is what they call an all-risk policy. It covers anything that can happen to your home. But in the policy, instead of listing what's actually covered, it's going to tell you what's not covered. So I will now tell you the basic things that are not covered in homeowners insurance or in the HO3 policy. If it's not covered in the HO3 policy, it means that homeowners insurance does not cover it. Number one thing that's not covered in home insurance is, say it out. There you go. Flood. Flood is not covered under a typical homeowners insurance. You have to purchase an additional policy that covers only flood. Now, I'll give you the definition of a flood. A flood is an overflow of a river or a stream. Pretty much that's what a flood is. Typically what happens is if it rains in a geographical area and it comes down really hard, okay, and your neighborhood happens to be flooded, the water is no longer going down the sewer, causing the sewers to overflow. It has to happen to the neighborhood, to put it quite simply. If your house got flooded and your neighbor across the street didn't get flooded, you do not have coverage for flood. It's not declared a flood. Okay? The water may have gotten into your house because where the bricks hit the concrete may have openings, and the water will go to the area of least resistance, which is typically that opening, maybe into the basement, and begin to rise. Which means that you need to get your house graded okay, right around the foundation, so the water will go away from the house as opposed to going into the house. Everybody understand? Your home inspector will check the home for those conditions because we find that that's a common problem as houses become older. They begin to sink. Okay? So the good home inspector, who are we going to have for home inspector today? Who's going to be the home inspector?
Kathy.
Kathy, okay, diamond home inspection. She's very, very good, inspecting about 5 or 6 houses a month. Okay? And worth the money detailed in court. But anyway, a good home inspector will locate any kind of deficiency in the home and make you aware of it. So, but not covered. Second most common pearl that's not covered is what they call wear and tear. Because everything that is built has a limitation. It's not going to be around forever, right? So, wear and tear would consist of things such as your roof. If your roof hasn't been maintained or looked at in the last 5 or 6 years, and then all of a sudden it rains and you have a leak, the adjuster for the insurance company or your roofer will go on top of your roof, because typically you and I don't go on top of the roof. We don't know what it looks like. And they can tell whether or not the roof has aged, warped, deteriorated over time. If it has deteriorated over time, then the insurance company will not pay for the repair of the roof. That will be considered maintenance. If you have an HO3 policy, the water damage may be covered. Okay? So we understand that. The water damage may be covered, but actual repair of the roof would not be covered. That would be considered wear and tear. If you buy an older home and you go into the basement, you notice the walls are crumbling, and you need to maybe stucco the walls or redo the foundation. Those are maintenance items. They would be considered wear and tear, not covered under the home insurance policy. So it's wear and tear. Another thing that's not covered is anything we do on purpose. We get a little short cash every once in a while, and then we decide to burn the house down. Okay, no, we don't. But some people do. Okay. Anything we do on purpose, anything that's done that you have control over. I had a client, for example, the police came in because the client's kid did something illegal. And when the police came, they had to break the door down, trash the house. They found what they were looking for. And the mother was obviously upset, did not have anything to do with what the child did. But because the police found what they were looking for, guess what? Not covered under the home insurance, nor did the city pay for the damage. Now, if the police did not find what they were looking for, but they had reasonable cause to enter the house, then the city is responsible for repairing the house. Okay? And either way, as long as they had reasonable cause. Okay? If they did not have reasonable cause, then what happens is you can file an insurance claim if you have an HO3 policy. Because that would not be something that is listed as typically covered. But remember, the HO3 policy will cover anything that happens to your house unless they specifically say it's not covered. Follow me? So what policy are we really going to look for when we get our insurance? Right. Or we'll get better kids. Okay, right. We're going to look for HO3 policy because sometimes, as the old saying is, happens. Right? Okay, you want to make sure you have that coverage. So, wear and tear is not covered. Anything you do on purpose is not covered. Flood is not covered. There's probably several other little things that are not covered, like building ordinances. You decide to go out and have your guy Johnny help you build this wonderful deck in the back of the house. Except for you didn't go down to the township to get the permit, and you found out now you built your deck too big and it approaches the neighbor's property. and the city says, nice deck, $20,000, tear it down. Okay? Not covered under your home insurance, obviously. Okay? That would be considered building ordinances. Okay? So are there any questions about home insurance so far? Yes, ma'am.
Is it homeowner's insurance when someone gets hurt on your property, say, show me Chanel, someone falls?
Good question. Did I give you a shirt yet? No. Okay. You want a shirt? Okay. Here. There you go. Oh, one thing about these shirts, I'm gonna plug this in. If anyone's caught wearing a shirt, you, your family member, anybody, you give it away or whatever, they're wearing this shirt. We have 5 Main Street insurance cards. They ride around Delaware County and Philadelphia. We also have a mobile insurance office. And if we see someone wearing our shirts, we stop and we give them $5. Just because. This is an FYI. And you'll get some business cards too. And probably another shirt. Okay. So, anyway, her question was about liability insurance. Okay? Because now I'm going to talk about what's listed on the declarations page of a home insurance policy. First of all, keep this in your head. We talked about the HO3 policy and the types of insurance policy and what's covered. Now I'm going to talk about the most important thing to look for with homeowners insurance, and that's having what we call replacement costs. Having enough insurance to rebuild your home right where it stands. For example, you may have a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, jacuzzi, deck, 3rd acre, 3-story, central air, full works in the house. And you may be able to get a good deal here in the city of Chester. You might be able to get that house for $150,000, right? Not a bad price. But if it burned down, in order to put everything back in, it might cost $250,000. But if you're buying it for $150,000, your mortgage company says you got to have $150,000 in coverage. But it burns all the way down, and you find out it's $225,000 to rebuild it. At this point, you are underinsured. The mortgage company will negotiate with you, try to get you to pay off the mortgage, unless you can come up with the rest of the money to rebuild the house. Okay?
Does that also cover your belongings?
Yes, I'm going to get to that. Okay. So now, what happens is, replacement cost is making sure that you have enough insurance to rebuild the house exactly where it is. Your insurance agent should ask you these questions. How many bedrooms do you have? How many bathrooms? Do you have hardwood floors or wall carpeting? Is it brick, stone? Do you have a porch? If you do, is it enclosed or open? Is it a corner house, a single house, or a twin? Okay, all these questions are relevant. When they ask these questions, they're typically building the house in their computer. That computer is going to come up with a number, okay? In this case, $200,000 to rebuild. As long as we offer you 80% of that $200,000, you have replacement costs. So if it comes up with $200,000, you have to be insured for $160,000 to have rebuilding costs or replacement costs. You understand it, right? Okay. So now, here's the scary thing. If you're paying $150,000 for the house, and it costs $200,000 to rebuild it, and you said, I only need $150,000, right? And we're real close to that $160,000. But at that point, you're only 75% insured. And here's the scary part. Now, in your kitchen,